Well, I was watching Tesla as a company up through the growing pains and all, and it did intrigue me. I see the battery-operated vehicles coming.
Hey everyone, Luke here bringing you another fun conversation with a regional fleet and maintenance trucking company based out of Myerstown, Pennsylvania. That's right, it's our podcast, Caution, Wide Right. It's just another trucking podcast. And today we have James Martin with Keystone Transport and Diamond Fleet Services with us. James is the owner of Keystone Transport, which started in 2014, delivering high-end blanket-wrapped furniture to stores and designers. And then shortly after, James started Diamond Fleet Services, a diesel truck and maintenance repair shop for light, medium, and heavy-duty trucks, with visions to also include the upcoming Tesla Semi, which we're definitely going to talk more about in the video. But James, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Now, we tell many of our new carriers to find their niche in the trucking industry, know what products they want to haul, and then dive into building those supplier relationships to get those good contract freight. But it seems like for you, the logistics side came after being a manufacturer and supplier first. So how did Keystone Transport get started?
Well, as a manufacturer, I was having trouble finding a good carrier locally to deliver blanket wrap furniture to our stores. And I finally decided to take it in my own hands and put a truck on the road. And we weren't full, so we spread the word in the community, the Amish and Mennonite shops that build good quality furniture, and we soon were growing. There was a real need there in this area. Now we pick up at all the Amish and Mennonite shops in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Indiana, and we're starting to pick up upholstery in North Carolina, so expanding out a little bit.
How far do you guys deliver to?
We deliver from Maine to North Carolina, a little bit of Tennessee, and west to Indiana.
Very nice. Very nice. So as a growing company, you're always on the lookout for experienced drivers, and especially to join your team. And this is why on our website at cnstrains.com, we have a trucking job board where we share job opportunities for Keystone Transport. Why should a driver consider working for Keystone?
There's a couple of reasons. Culture is very important to us.
Yes.
We know our drivers, some of our drivers will be out Monday through Friday. They're away from their family. How can we make it an environment where in our company, it's faith, family, work in that order of priority. So we're concerned about work-life balance. Our drivers are home Saturday and Sunday. And culture is important to us. Getting the drivers involved in knowing where the company's at. We have a quarterly state of the company address. We share our goals. That. Are we hitting our goals or not? Financials. They know what's going on, where we're headed, what we're targeting in sales and marketing, and the challenges that we're having as a company.
Now, so we mentioned it before too. So driver retention is always a big concern. I'm curious, one, on the onboarding side, you're training your drivers, I believe, learning how to blanket wrap and do a good job wrapping the furniture. But also on the retention side, what are your strategies trying to keep good drivers long term?
Well, one thing is, they're not a number because we're a family operation, and I know each one of the drivers by name. My wife makes a sticky-bun or pie for them on their birthdays, and we have annual get-togethers. But it's important that they have good equipment. The equipment's working good, good planned routes so that they can execute on time. Our dispatcher has his CDL. He understands what it's like to be out there on the road. I have my CDL too. It's like a vacation if I get to drive a truck. I don't get to do it too much, but I do enjoy that.
Get away from home.
Getting away a little bit, yeah.
The other side of it is the onboarding process. What is the onboarding process for a new driver?
Onboarding process, I think it's very critical that the driver gets a good experience from day one. Of course, we love to use CNS and get all the compliance stuff out of the way. But then they're going to work in the warehouse, get a feel for how we wrap, tag, load furniture, handle furniture. They get to go out on local pickups, and then they get to go out a number of days with an experienced driver.
Yeah.
Real time, they get to learn how to use the apps and learn how we relate to the customers. when we're looking for a driver, we're looking for a customer service person. Yeah, they do have their Class A driver's license. So customer service is important. They're the face of the company, and we want to give them the tools to be successful. Our bonus program highlights that. We give bonus for customer service and for safety.
Oh, awesome.
We're just making a huge impact.
Yeah, the customer service side, I love that. I know here, they try to, like, if we get a 5-star review, pass that on to the people who were called out.
Absolutely. In this case here, they'll get there's money or a bonus behind that.
That's awesome. And you mentioned, I think real quickly the app, and I'm curious. I believe that's the sort of like real-time order tracking app, or
yes.
Okay.
In addition to the normal ELD app, we have a dispatch and notification system. We know when we load the truck, we notify the customer with a text and email. Mm-hmm. It shows them what product's coming, which day we're coming, what time of day, and a picture of the driver. So they know who's going to deliver their furniture. And then when the truck leaves, they can track it real time. They know when that driver's going to show up. As things happen, it updates ETA in real time. So that's the kind of customer service. And then the driver personally calls an hour or two on ahead and lets them know they're coming. So in today's world, that communication is very important. We go to a lot of stores that maybe they need to get help there to help unload. So lining that up and keeping them apprised of our schedules is critical.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm from the West Coast and got moved out here, and so the whole Amish community type of things is a fun new experience for me. And I'm curious with the relationships. Obviously, there's the supplier side. How is that relationship on the Amish community side?
So we kind of got two customers. We're working with a lot of manufacturers, over 100 manufacturers in the community, and they build very high-end, well-built furniture. So we have to take good care of it. Nothing is packaged. We're blanket wrapping, tagging it. So we're picking up at their shops every week, and the store is actually their customer. We got the customer relationship there, and we get a lot of referrals from the manufacturers.
And I'm curious, so it's all about Keystone Transport, and I know eventually you decided to open up the diesel mechanic side of the business.
That's right.
Tell me a little about how that got started.
Well, we have good shops in the area, but scheduling was always a concern for me, and I wanted to be able to get it in, get it out, because everybody knows a truck down is not making any money.
Yeah.
So we were doing our own fleet repair for about a year, and we decided we're going to offer a service to the marketplace. And the focus is, of course, I'm going to fix your truck like I want mine fixed, and quality, but fast turnaround time, in and out. If you have to wait a week or two to get in the shop, hey, you might want to see us.
And then, so the other side of it, I know we've had a lot of supply chain issues. I don't know if you're trying to wait for a certain part or anything like that. How's that transition been like?
That is a very, very, very good concern. So we have our standard vendors that we use to buy our parts. But if it's pushing our lead time out, we'll search around. We'll go to all ends to find that part. Anywhere in the U.S. Or cross seas if we have to.
Yep, and if it's going to be out here, it's going to be out at other places too. So it's just one of those things that it's just crazy. And then I know you mentioned on your website Tesla Semi. You'd want to work on that as well. I believe you're on the wait list for the Tesla Semi. Tell me a little bit about this interest.
Well, I was watching Tesla as a company up through the growing pains and all, and it did intrigue me. I see the battery-operated vehicles coming, and they're here. And I saw when they rolled out the Semi in 2019, it really caught my eye, especially with a 500-mile range. And for me, it's not so much green as the technology, and there's not as many moving parts. You don't have the engine and trans and the emissions and all that good stuff to go wrong. Simple and cleaner. So I got in line. Have a reservation for one. I guess the time will tell till it gets to me if the infrastructure will support it. So one of my concerns is the infrastructure there? Do we have routes that, if I'm just going back and forth between warehouses and I have a charging infrastructure at the warehouses, I'm good.
Yep.
That's going to fit it beautifully. But you have to have the right setup for electric semis at this point to make it work. I did just drive one recently, Nikola. Took it out for a test drive. Drives like a sports car. Take off and could burn rubber almost. No, not quite, but they're fast. They're nice. The technology's there, but it showed me that there's some work to till they're ready for prime time.
Yep.
It's a developing, emerging market. There's a hydrogen electric truck
gonna
coming.
ask about that,
That's I think that may have more traction quicker than the total electric. But the total electric for local runs is going to be
Exactly.
Gonna be
So
key.
there's that difference of local,
Yeah.
regional versus long haul, and so Tesla Semi is sort of that local, regional. I believe Cascadia with Daimler, that's sort of that local, regional truck. But it's I think the Kenworth you mentioned sort of the I was gonna say CNG, is it? No, not CNG. It's the hydrogen fuel cell. You know, that's long haul. I believe they're focused on, or at least 500 mile range or something like that as well. But all fascinating. This transition. I know the ATA Spear just mentioned, I think yesterday, that he was like, "Whoa, slow down!" Like.
Well, California put some pretty stringent things in place that I think are going to have to be rolled back based on what I know of the industry currently. But it's fun. It's fascinating watching these companies transition from diesel to electric to hydrogen. It's fascinating watching the business model change.
I agree. And it's interesting, too, because I think, you know, it is coming. The question is, give me timeline and then the sort of phase out of older vehicles to newer vehicles. But I think almost regardless if it's however the battery or the electric is being charged, basically, the costs are insanely impressive. Less maintenance with just the motors. And then you have, I mean, the electric, I think 200-mile round trip for a diesel truck would be like $170, $5 per gallon of diesel, where the Tesla Semi with similar costs for electricity at that time was like $28.
Yeah, it's significant.
Yeah, so it is fascinating, and I understand, like you mentioned, this transition of getting charging infrastructure out there. Is it something I know short term? What they're getting the vehicles out to Pepsi, Walmart, and others, these big ones, where they're going to put charging infrastructure at these warehouses and sites. Is it something, do you see it being at your site as well, or are you more hopefully relying on these diesel or these larger truck charging stations being at local gas stations or something like that?
I did some research on that. It costs anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 to install a charging system at my warehouse. So depending on the economics of the whole package would probably drive that. Obviously, if you don't have to do that, it'd be nice. But relying on that infrastructure to get up and going is going to be challenging as well. But I would see putting that infrastructure at our warehouses and using that as our point-to-point.
And do you have any worries on, not battery range, but maybe like the charging time involved or anything like that?
Well, with where our warehouses are located, they have to, it's too far for out and back in a day, so they have to spend time there anyhow. So from that perspective, for our model, that would not be an issue.
Nice.
But out on the road, yeah.
It's a fascinating transition that's happening, and I know with Tesla's vision too. Just we'll get off of Tesla in a second, but it's interesting because a lot of people out there are thinking that this isn't happening for another 10 years, 2030 beyond. But I mean, while it's Elon time, they're saying they want 50,000 trucks production by the end of 2024. So really 25, 26. Based on last year, there was 300,000 Class 8 trucks produced in a year. That's 15% in just a couple years being Tesla semi-electric trucks, of all trucks in the U.S. specifically. Like, this transition is coming. Do you have any other thoughts or for other fleets, whether it's big or small, like what they should consider with this transition?
I'd say just keep watching the marketplace and be ready to change when it comes. The early adopters, usually, what do they call it, the bleeding edge?
Yeah.
Do the math, do your numbers, make sure it works for you. It's not a fit for everybody. You have to make sure you have a model that supports it and gives a return on investment.
Very cool. And, sort of a transition, the other half of this, since we're talking about vehicles in general, I know, the swings in the trucking market has been insane lately. Obviously, COVID was amazing time for truckers to get into the industry. And then on the tail end of COVID, people still thought they could get in, and the trucks were getting expensive. And now we're seeing the market crash for trucking, hopefully hitting a bottom soon and going back up. But really, this last 6 months to almost a year, if anybody got in during that time with trucks at those high prices, especially owner-operators, I'm just curious how you see the market. I know you have your own niche and probably a little bit safe from this transition, but what's your perspective on it?
The industry as a whole, furniture industry as a whole, has slowed up here this year too. That goes up and down with the economy, just like anything else. So we had, up to this point, our growth was organic. We didn't have any salespeople. It was word of mouth. We went to a few trade shows, but we just hired a salesperson to spread the word, and we like to have this year another growth year, even though furniture industry as a whole is down 20% this year. But if we were relying only on load boards and general freight, I don't think I'd be in business. I mean, as low as they went. We do use those occasionally to fill empty miles. But our goal is to build relationships with these manufacturers and stores and be a service provider for them.
I completely agree. And that's something that we talked about in my startup series that we've been covering. I did an episode on load boards and all, like, contract freight. What's the difference? Go check it out. I'm sure we can drop it in above us here. You can go watch that video. But yeah, I completely agree. The whole point of the load board originally was fill up that last mile. I need something real quick, and that's it. But relying on it, I mean, it's a whole different game.
$1 to $1.50 a mile. That's lower than my costs.
Yeah, and that's everybody. Everybody online, if you follow like any of the Facebook groups or things like that, they're just like, don't take those rates. Like, stop.
That's right.
But I know we're starting to see a transition up, I hope. So we'll see where that goes. So you mentioned earlier, the onboarding process, things that you can be trained on. And I know safety is always a big thing, especially at our company, where we focus on safety and compliance. What's some of the safety tech you use for your vehicles?
Well, a lot of our trucks have the adaptive cruise and the lane guidance, the safety features. We have a monthly safety meeting with the team, give feedback, hear their concerns, very safety oriented. We do have forward-facing cameras, which has been very helpful. We have some people try to hit us and then claim damage and all that stuff. If I wouldn't have those videos, I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah. And that's been one of the things. I think I wrote an article on that on our insurance site. But the people that are trying to get almost free money from the trucking industry, how have you used it? So is that during the whole litigation process, or did you even have to get that far?
No, we sent the video to the insurance company. They took it from there, and it went quiet.
Yeah,
that's pretty obvious.
Do you know? So what did these people try to do?
Well, our driver was going down. He was in the right lane, a 2-lane highway, and there was an on-ramp coming on.
Yep.
He couldn't get over to make room for the white car coming down the ramp, and because he had a semi right beside him, he could not move over. And that white car just comes right over and bumps his wheel, and he go off to the side, and there was damage for pain and suffering, neck injuries, back problems, all the good stuff like that. But I was so glad for that camera.
Interesting. And then as far as, has it helped reduce claims? I know insurance in general is crazy in the nuclear verdicts and things like that. How has your claim side of the insurance with safety tech or anything else?
We use Samsara for our ELD, and that also has the cameras with it. We have forward-facing cameras only. We don't have driver-facing. One of my concerns is privacy on that, but I guess we're a company that hires for safety and culture, and I'd rather hire the right people that don't need the cameras facing backward. But I understand why companies do that. But no, that has helped us. Having the cameras itself and having those videos definitely helped our insurance costs.
And I'm curious, just since it's in the news right now, ELDs and all these hours of service rule changes technically hasn't made the roads safer or reduced crashes or things like that. Just curious on your perspective. ELDs, good, bad?
I think ELDs are good. I mean, it has helped our company.
Right.
The forward-facing cameras gives us insight into how speeding, following distance, all that good stuff. That's a tool that we use to coach our drivers, and we get bonuses off of that as well. So I feel overall it's a good thing. The ELD has been very helpful to our company. Now, of course, it can be misused. Again, it comes back to hiring the right kind of person to put behind the wheel. That is probably more key than any technology that can be used out there. Hiring the right person that's safety conscious, customer service oriented.
Yeah.
And that has helped us a lot.
Completely agree. I know one of the taglines I like to use for explaining CNS and safety is we are human tech involved in managing the safety. We use tech, but it's human focused.
I like
tech.
that. I like it because at the end of the day, it's our drivers that make or break the company.
Completely.
From a customer service perspective, from a safety perspective. Accidents will happen. Things do happen, but a safety culture starts at the top if you're going to be successful.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so we talked a little bit about safety, some of the regulation. So speaking of regulations, speed limiter rule proposal is out. There's no hard number that they've proposed yet. I know we're going to hear a lot about this in the coming months, but what's your thoughts on the speed limiter rule?
I like to take a common sense approach. We have ours limited at 70 mile an hour, but that's just common sense. Most of the roads aren't higher than that, and that works well for our company. I guess, you can regulate to death. I would like to think any, good companies out there are going to self-regulate.
Exactly.
Do we need another rule?
Exactly.
That's my thoughts.
If it's miles per gallon that you're worried about, you're going to slow down.
Absolutely.
And then if it's the speed limit, there's a lot of different speed limits out there in a lot of different states.
Yeah, you can't. If you try to pick one number, if they have to make a rule, if it has to go through like that, I would rather see the technology where it just it's based on the current speed limit of the area and it allows variation.
Right.
If they have to go that route, I prefer not, but I would hope the technology is common, and it's just a matter it needs to be developed a little further that it should be able to regulate it per the area you're in, per the speed limit you're in.
Right. But it makes sense. Sometimes the FMCSA doesn't make sense. I think the previous podcast guests we had on, they basically said sometimes the regulations don't make sense because things change frequently, political swings. But you still got to follow the rules.
Yep, that's right. Absolutely right. And we're safety. I mean, we won't, if a driver doesn't feel safe, we say do not go. Whether it's equipment, whether it's weather, whether it's not, safety is paramount. You have a lot of big machine out there, a lot of pounds traveling down the road, a lot of liability.
Yeah. And I'm a proponent on if you're regulating the truck, regulate the everyday drivers as well.
Absolutely.
Speed limiter on their vehicle, sure. I wouldn't care. Or ELD, not ELD, but like the telematic tech inside the vehicle. Yeah, totally. So another thing that's been going through, it's been a horrible mess because no one's actually doing it. But I was curious on your perspective on the Uner-21 Interstate CDL driving pilot program. Do you have an issue with under 21 drivers, or is it experience versus because they'll get their time on the road?
Well, I would probably look at experience more than age. Yeah. Like let's say I hire somebody off the farm that has been driving tractors and equipment and backing up trailers all since they're 12 years old on the farm.
Exactly.
Is one thing versus someone that never was in a big vehicle at 18. I make a difference there. So I look at it more from an experience / safety perspective than the actual age.
Yeah.
Some people at 25 wouldn't be fit to be in the truck.
Exactly. This is why hiring drivers.
Some people at 16 probably could handle it well, but I'm not a proponent that young. But 18 would could work. I guess it is depending on the skill and the ability of the person.
And I know the pilot program was trying to do that. Like they already have experience intrastate, and they're taking the best of those to do interstate. So it's not like fresh out of the, never been in a truck before training. But I am curious too.
Well,
go ahead.
But back on that subject. Okay, so if they've been driving in the state and they're safe and they're okay with that, I guess I don't see any reason you can't go out of state. What's the difference? Or maybe I'm missing something here. I'm not sure.
I'm with you on that, and obviously the insurance piece and the aftermath of that later is different. They can go work for a big company that has a captive and has their own insurance, and everything's going to be fine that way. But yeah, as far as the whole point was right across the state is a big market for us to get to, and it's just right across the border. Why can't?
Yeah, I'd have no problem that if they're safe to drive in state, they're safe to drive out of state. That's my opinion.
I like it. So since we're talking about young drivers, I was curious too about, thoughts on garnering interest for even kids to eventually think about the trucking career or logistics career in general. And what do you think you would want to see, whether it's in schools or even college or wherever else, to show this interest in this industry?
Well, I think as we got into the general freight a little bit to fill our backhauls, and we had some going to these large warehouses, and all the experiences we had with general freight and these big warehouses was less than ideal. I think that's more of a problem in the industry than we realize. So we can get these people interested, but if they're going to have the experience of waiting half days at warehouses and all the challenges of working through that versus just being able to haul freight, I think that's where we need to start with fixing the problem.
Completely agree. So that goes with detention time. That goes with
absolutely
bathroom breaks.
Yes.
Please let them go to the bathroom.
Let's let
common
us be
sense,
human.
right?
Common sense.
Yeah.
But back to I think we ought to be promoting it as a and again we're a family company, so it's not always right for every stage of family life to be out on the road Monday through Friday. So of course, I'm not out here promoting it's right for everybody, but there are seasons of life that it fits well for the individual and their where they're at in life. But I do believe there should be at least make them aware of the potential, because you can make good money on a truck,
Right?
Make more than I make sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah, I might look pretty here on camera, but the drivers could definitely be making more money than me.
Exactly.
And I'm curious, I didn't bring this up before, but I follow local community, Facebook groups and things. And so in Myerstown specifically, in the neighborhood I live in, some truck drivers live there. Not allowed to park there. I don't know if it's HOA or whatever. I'm just curious. And then they were asking, where can we park our vehicle? And basically anywhere in Myerstown, they're like, no, we had an issue there. We had an issue here. I'm just curious about your perspective on truck parking, whether it's local or, encouraging the community that it's a big issue. I don't think people realize this, especially in small communities, because, think truck parking, you're thinking truck stops, or you're thinking something else. But I'm just curious on your perspective on truck parking in general.
Well, that's interesting, because I just purchased a commercial property a year ago, and we're clearing space, making availability for truck parking. So if you need some parking space in Myerstown, come see me. I got some available right now. But that is an issue, especially in the Northeast, as our drivers are delivering furniture in the Northeast. Parking space is a real concern. It's hard to find, and then you're working with your hours of service, making that all combined. Yes. That is a real problem for us in the Northeast. Going south, it's not as much of an issue, but Northeast, absolutely. But there's some places that the drivers do park their trailers elsewhere and take them home and park them in their driveway. No, I think they should. What people don't realize is so much of life depends on trucking. Hey, let's have trucking stop for a week. What would happen? It'd be chaos. Yeah. There wouldn't be food at the right places, the right times. Life would stop as we know it. I don't think we give enough respect, first of all, to the truck drivers out there.
Yes.
And what they're doing for us. I think if we have that mentality, that would go a long way, and where we allow people to park and how we treat delivery vendors, and that sort of thing.
completely agree. Like COVID, it was nice because we had this quick taste of like, oh my gosh, there's no toilet paper. We need trucks to get it there as quickly as possible or whatever. And there was a little bit of respect. Same thing, nursing or teachers and things like we had a moment, but gosh, we are so quick on just forgetting about it. And I completely agree. And with that, all right, with that, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much again for coming out, James. It's fascinating to always hear about a different niche in the trucking market. And if anybody has any questions or concerns or looking to get hired for a job, reach out to us, comment in the comment section below, or reach out to us. We'll pass on the information to James. You can always go to cnstrains.com, check out our trucking job board, where his information is on there as well. You can learn a little bit more about the details and apply. And then, of course, we have a CDL school. If you're looking for trucking insurance, if you're looking for help with the safety side of the business, licensing, drug testing, consortium management, we do literally everything on sort of the regulation side of the industry. Check us out. Go check out Keystone there in Myerstown. They have a website. I'm sure you can apply online on their website as well. So with that, thanks again for joining us. And as always, stay safe out there.